today we are asking you about a government announcement. Gillian Keegan, the Education Secretary, issuing new guidance for head teachers to ban mobile phones in schools. Of course, head teachers have been perfectly capable and able to ban mobile phones anytime they want. My daughter's school, they go in a locker, they don't come out again. It's a serious offence if you get your phone out, and quite rightly. I've always said, if your kid is allowed their mobile phone, not just in the classroom, but even in the playground at school, send your kid to a different school. The teacher's not got a grip on things. But I want to know, do you welcome this new move from the government? Do you welcome the guidance? Tell us why you do. Tell us why you don't. Give us a call on 0344 499 1000, text on 87222, or get in touch on X at talkTV. Calls are charged at the national rate. Text costs £1, standard network rate message. Joining us now to discuss this is author of Lessons from Lockdown and Bubble Schools, the Director of Transform Education, Tony Breslin. Good morning to you, Tony.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you very much for joining us. Well, I have to say, looking at the texts and the tweets coming in today and the phone calls we've had about this, parents seem to be pretty much in agreement. Of course, children shouldn't have their mobile phones in school. They might disagree perhaps in the playground, but certainly in the classroom. When did anyone think this was a good idea?
Well, I don't think anyone ever has, Julia. The reality is that this is the DfE guidance catching up with the reality. The vast majority of schools, and certainly virtually all secondary schools, already have this kind of policy in place. They will nuance it depending on their size and maybe through year groups, and sometimes schools will want young people to use phones in lessons for the various positive connectivities that they bring. But the truth is that, in a sense, there isn't a story here. Schools have been doing this. They've been doing it certainly since the inception of the smartphone, and indeed before that.
Well, you say, you know, that lots of schools have already got this, most schools have got this. I mean, I speak to people all the time whose kids are allowed to have their mobile phones, or even if it's banned by the school, it's not enforced. We had a great caller earlier, Stephen, who was a supply teacher for many years in the Manchester area, and he just said, look, it was just completely the norm that kids would get out their phones. I mean, you hear about these kids, you know, just sitting there at the back of the class, watching a video, not even with headphones on. They don't care. These are schools where the teachers, and certainly the head teachers, they have lost control. They've ceded responsibility to the kids. And that is such a giveaway that is a failing school, because it's failing the very pupil who would get their mobile phone out in a lesson and mess around with it, is the people who most needs to learn, most needs a strict, disciplined environment to enable them to have a better future.
But Julia, the reason why that kind of school makes the news is because that really is the exception to the rule. And of course, in any kind of, with regard to any school regulation, it's about consistency of enforcement. You know, whether we're talking about behaviour policy, whether we're talking about the way in which we organise school trips or extracurricular activities, how one enforces, how one organises is always absolutely key. The truth of the matter is that neither guidance nor compulsion will achieve that. What achieves that is strong school leadership and strong classroom practice. And, you know, that is what we have in the majority of our schools.
Well, you
so
say that.
Deal with those cases.
You say that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm thinking some of the schools I see near me and some of the pupil behaviour and the stories I hear from parents about what is and what is not allowed. I worry that a lot of people talk a good game, but they don't actually enforce it. And I think the one thing that kids need, whether it's at home or at school, is always consistency. If I do A, result will be B, and it's result B every single time, and I know the deal. Because this is the other thing, not just the kids who are distracting themselves with a mobile phone and not paying attention in class, they're also distracting other kids. And we also see with mobile phones, you know, the upskirting, the harassment, the sharing of some really horrific, absolutely foul videos, and we have seen, didn't we, with the mother of Brianna saying about how, you know, her killers were, so his killers, he was born male, that his killers were, you know, they were looking at the most foul stuff on the dark web that they were searching for it in the first place. But we don't want kids doing that, and certainly not in class time.
And absolutely. But the tech companies have to take responsibility here as well. We have to find ways of ensuring that the people find it much more difficult to access the so-called dark web. Mobile phones have brought enormous capabilities in terms of communication between schools and home and the setting of assignments and all the rest of it. And our young people now have a wonderful level of digital literacy. But the tech companies really have to take responsibility here. The awful stuff should never reach the net, and we should have the confidence and the moral purpose, and we must ask the tech companies to do the same to ensure that's not the case. But frankly, to lay that stuff at the doorstep of teachers or parents alone, I just think is misplaced. Look, this guidance is fine. It's good that guidance and practice are aligned, and it will help those schools that are having the sort of difficulties that you're talking about to take a stronger line. But it's a little bit late to the party, and I think we have to acknowledge that. But how can we use phones better? How can we use them well? And how do we ensure that we ensure consistency of practice in classrooms? Because this fundamentally isn't about phones. It's about the quality of teaching.
It's about teaching, and it's about discipline. It's about discipline and who's in charge. I don't care what the rule is. There are rules at my daughter's school that I don't agree with, but we go to the school. And that's the deal. We've all had, when I worked in a burger takeaway chopping onions when I was 15, I didn't like having to wear a baseball cap, but that was the rule. Once you start, it's this, I can just do what I want attitude that children are being brought up with now, and parents and teachers are kind of signing into. I think that is such a big issue. And the mobile phones play into all of that. Tony, I'm going to have to let you go, though. Tony President, so appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much indeed. Really good to talk to you. Charlie Rowley, I mean, this to me is a big issue, isn't it? And it's a really good point that Tony President made. You know, mobile phones, it's not about just what they're seeing, you know, on their phones, messing about in classrooms. What they're seeing on their phones outside school is just as bad. And I suppose parents and teachers, they do need a little bit of backup from authorities to give them. For some reason, they don't think they've got the power to stop this, which they do, but they need the backup.
Oh, definitely. And look, you know, if you're a teacher that needs to seize a mobile phone, you should just go and seize it. You shouldn't be in the hands of a stroppy teenager that wants to throw themselves to the floor and sort of kick and scream.
Well, as one of our supply teacher caller said the other day.
Exactly.
Again, you just laugh at them.
You know, the power has to be restored back to teachers. It has to be restored back to the schools, back to parents, to make sure that they're looking after their kids for their own protection because of all those dangers and harms that we can see on.
I was thinking about the tantrum one. You know what I would have done? I was generally going, right, one more minute. If you go to the next minute, that tantrum, detention. 1 minute after that, 2 detentions. Keep going. You're going to be in detention until the summer. End of.
Yes.
But, you know, and they've got to learn.
Yes.
Seriously, everyone's got to stop. You're the adults. You're the adults.